like all great universal truths you've heard throughout your entire life, the Lioness Principle is both simultaneously elegantly simple and profoundly true. The Lioness Principle, at its most fundamental level, is really a leadership principle. Leadership through a style of communicating that allows you, as a leader, to help the people who look to you for direction to not only find quick independence, but also to tap into that instinctive greatness that lies within them. The Lioness Principle assumes and asserts that all great leaders are also, at some level, at some point, also great teachers. And that all great teachers teach quickly for independence and help those they teach access that instinctive greatness that they already have inside. I accidentally tripped upon the Lioness Principle watching a Discovery Channel program where the lioness was teaching her cubs to hunt. And it was interesting because I realized that the 7 steps that scientists use to, or have identified that she uses to teach these cubs to hunt, are very analogous to how we as leaders become successful and lead others to greatness. The 7 steps are really interesting, and she does them every time. The first step is the step of nurturing. She creates a warm and safe environment for her cubs to exist and grow. They're tiny cubs. Their eyes are not even open yet, and they depend upon her for everything. So the entire focus of step 1 is to create an environment of safety and nurturing. In step number 2, when their eyes have opened and they begin to walk around, she introduces a skill that they will ultimately need to be successful and independent. But if she were to introduce the skill of learning to hunt right here at this juncture, it would absolutely be fatal. If she brings the antelope or the water buffalo in at this juncture, they will be trampled to death. So she introduces the skill that will ultimately be life-giving to them and introduces it in the form of play. She brings in a little grasshopper or a lizard, and the minute she drops that little grasshopper right into the den, it awakens an instinct inside of them that they didn't even know was there. They immediately perk up and pounce on this little insect. By awakening that instinct, they start to hunger for more, creating a third step for her where she begins to heighten that hunger or that instinct by bringing in a little mammal, a little mouse, or a little gopher. And the minute they get a sniff and smell of that warm-blooded creature, that deepens their instinct and causes them to really start to participate in this process. By the time they're ready, actually, the 4th step, they almost create themselves. They begin to wander outside. She can't any longer keep them in the den. They begin to wander outside, and when that begins to happen, they get a taste of step number 4, which is really the real world. See, they find out in the real world that they can take these same skills out there, but when they approach a porcupine or maybe a badger, they don't play as nicely. They show up and present a whole new side to a mammal they hadn't encountered yet. So they get a taste of the real world in step number 4. And in step number 5, she knows she must introduce them to what success looks like. It's interesting, in the lion kingdom, all of the lionesses raise these cubs in a communal way. In other words, they nurse these cubs, they synchronize their cycles and actually give birth around the same time, and they nurse these cubs and suckle these cubs indiscriminately. So it becomes this almost sisterhood, if you will, that raises these cubs together. So the younger lionesses, their job is to take those lions, the cubs, to the edge of the savannah and make sure they stay behind that brush line, while the older lionesses execute a perfect hunt. Now these cubs are literally pacing the edge of that savannah, chattering, their teeth are chattering, and at one point they try to dart out because they instinctively know when they see this herd of antelope, that's where they should be. But if they go out there unskilled, they'll ruin the hunt. So the younger lionesses at one point snap at them and draw blood to keep them, to let them know this is a demonstration only. Mom shows them in a perfect execution of that hunt. In step number 5 and step number 6, they must actually try it. This is the most difficult step of all, because it takes many times for them to be successful, and even then it isn't very pretty. They run into each other, they scare the prey, they trip and fall. It's really, really unpolished. But eventually, they make the kill. And very interesting, I thought, in this step of the actual doing of this skill, that when they make this kill finally, and she actually makes it easy for them, she sequesters or sort of gets a weaker animal off to the side. So she even raises their chances of being successful, but she knows they must do it. And it's funny, when they run into failure, when they trip and fall and scare the animal away, they come running back to her to nurse. And she snarls at them and growls at them and snaps at them to push them away, because she knows the only way they'll go back to that difficult skill is if they're super, super hungry. So she starts to cut the cord. And as they go back and go back, eventually they're successful. And when they finally make this kill, she actually partakes with them and lets them know that this is now a time when they have joined this sisterhood of lionesses. And in the last step, when she partakes with them, she goes off afterwards and sits down, and in the film I watched, she lets out this it's an odd sound, almost a cross between a growl and a purr. And this guttural sound comes out that almost seems to say, I've done it. And it's almost as if it was a celebration of the success. So in step number 1, there's nurture. Creating a safe environment. We introduce the skills they need in the form of play. We heighten the skill we need by raising the instinctive need to have it. We actually demonstrate success, and then we push them toward trying the skill. Even though there are some failures, we continue to push them back out to try again. Once it has been mastered, we celebrate the success. It is the perfect analogy to how all of us learn to become successful and independent. Today, I'm going to show you some skills that will help you become a better leader. What does this have to do with all of you? You're not teachers. You're not leaders. Or are you?